Hi there, I'm Carrie-Anne Dukes, the Senior Marketing Manager at Econ1 and organiser of this podcast. Richard has decided to fly all the way to Thailand for the biggest SEO conference in Chiang Mai for 3 weeks, and that's why you have a much softer voice introducing the episode today. Welcome to episode 203 of the Econ1 podcast. In this episode, Richard speaks with Alexandra Tachalova, the Chief Executive Officer and founder at Digital Olympus. You may actually remember Alex from episode 8 in 2020. Yeah, that's wild, where she discussed the power of link building. An awful lot has changed since then, so we had to get her back on to give you the most advanced tactics for building links to actually increase your revenue. In this episode, they talk how link building has evolved over the years, and yeah, it's wild. The outdated link building tactics that e-commerce brands must avoid, whether or not Google's algorithm actually cares about link building and the impact it has on it, the fresh approaches to building high quality links, how to build those relationships to secure the links, because we all know that's hard, and what's next in the link building world. And of course, there's so much more in this one. If you enjoy this episode, hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you are listening to this podcast, so you are always the first to know the latest developments in e-commerce. Now, let's head over to this fantastic episode.
Hi Alex, how you doing?
Hi Richard, thank you for having me today on your podcast. I'm doing very well.
Very good. Very good to see you again. It's getting on for about 4.5 years since we last chatted about link building.
Every check of link building, right?
Yes.
It's time to review everything.
4.5 years is like 20 years in this business, isn't it? So let's have a good catch up and see what's been happening in the world of link building. But before we do that, for those that don't know who you are, I think it'd be great for you to introduce yourself, Alex, to our listeners and how you got into the world of sort of digital PR, link building, and SEO.
Yeah, well, I think I've been doing link building for the last, at least 6-7 years, right? In different formats, right? Starting from more like influencer marketing and ended up just doing a more basic email outreach campaign, more basic email outreach campaigns. I think we've literally tried everything out of all possible scenarios, including digital PR, and right now we do also digital PR. So yeah, things have changed quite a lot, right, since our last conversation, and especially in the last 12 months. So I think it's the very right moment to talk about link building and the current state of things. So yeah, I'm very excited, and besides just doing link building, I'm also running a link building agency, and we have under the same brand an SEO event. So that will be in September in Amsterdam. So guys, if you want to join us, you're welcome. Would love to see you there.
Yeah, we'll have to link up the event in the show notes as well. Obviously, we talk a lot about events and going to events, so it's a great way to kick off a episode of the podcast to invite our listeners to a SEO link building conference in Amsterdam. That would be great.
Yeah, it's not really link building, right? It's more about SEO and just on a general note, without really being very specific in terms of lockups or something like that.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, we'll link that up as well. But so obviously, been working in link building SEO for a long, long time. We met, I think, over 10 years ago. It doesn't seem we haven't spoken for a while, have we? But it just feels weird speaking to you again, because I remember meeting you, like I say, 10 years ago, and when you were with a previous company, and then obviously you went off to set up your own agency a few years later, and then here you are, sort of obviously ran your business and built your business, scaled your business into a fantastic link building agency.
No one told you that it will be so challenging. Someone forgot to tell.
Yes, running your own business. I think a lot of our listeners will relate to that. Yeah, it's not just I've got all this money. It's just so great. Yeah.
No, it's not like that. What to tell me?
Yeah, I don't know.
Dedication.
Yeah, I know too well. Yeah, the ups and downs of running an agency or running any business is fun and games. Right. So obviously we spoke, like I said, 4.5 years ago, episode sort of 20 something, 30 something, way back when we were starting the podcast. You were one of the first people that I went to talk about link building and chat about link building. But obviously a lot's changed. What over the last sort of recent years, what has specifically changed for sort of e-commerce stores?
Yeah, well, I think in the last 12 months, link building and SEO have undergone one of the biggest changes, right? So what we had, I summarized results. Numerous Google algo updates, right? Well, then Google leaked data on ranking factors. And God knows, what else, right? So, there is quite, right, basically, we've had quite a lot of things, right, happening at the same time, right? And just really changing almost probably our perception of, yes. And even, today I read on LinkedIn, by the way, that even Ahrefs has recently decided to change their slogan because they used to be all-in-one SEO tool. Guess now what you see on their website? All-in-one marketing tool. Not sure that is going to help them. Not sure, right? Because, I don't really see how they can really leverage this because it's primarily the tool for SEO guys, right? If you compare, right, SEM Rush that has a lot of things, right, under one roof, really a lot of different tools, right? Then, Ahrefs is quite, it's very focused on an SEO element. Right, okay. So jokes aside, in my opinion, the biggest trends that I would love to highlight, right? So first of all, historically, we all know that the commerce niche has relied very much on media outlets, right? And the recent Google algo updates, actually, they killed 70% of such websites. So, at the end of the day, we as link builders, we are running out of opportunities if we do that type of link building, right? So, and we have fewer and fewer opportunities that we can consider as good, like link building opportunities that we can suggest to our clients. Then the next thing that I see, the overall efficiency of email outreach. And it, to be honest, has significantly decreased in the last 2 years. It was not really it was a quite slow process, right? So it wasn't really like something that happened in one day. But, since, anyone in the industry, like any professional in the industry, you kind of have a tendency of reacting to things with a bit of, not a bit, a good delay, right? A lot of people came to this realization on the today, right? By looking at the, the overall performance of the email outreach campaigns and so on. And I think I did a quick kind of research. I went to Statista, right? Where you can find all the data about, various trends that are happening on the market. And I took just 2 numbers, the number of users that are using email, right? And the number of emails that users receive. And then I split it, a little bit, just a small math calculation. And then I ended up with the number that, the average number of emails that, the average user, I would say, receive per day. And it's over 100. It's over 100. So, you need to cut through that noise, right? And it doesn't matter how brilliant, how beautiful your pitch is, how you're creative, whatever it is. You have this 100 emails and you are ending up being among this 100.
Yeah. And probably with marketeers, it's probably more like 200 or 300.
Yeah, obviously, because they're subscribed to so many different newsletters, they receive, offers and so on and so forth, right? And the bigger the company is, the more, one or time spam and, offers are just kind of going straight to the inboxes and so on. So it's quite easy to get lost in this noise, right?
Yeah.
And I think the last thing that also, because you recently had Chris, right, on your podcast. And, guys, if you don't know Chris, he's also providing digital PR, right? And we had a chat about digital PR with him. And he told me at the recent Brighton SEO, there was, a lot of talks about digital PR. And I think that is actually a good indicator of the growing demand for digital PR. And I think it's becoming one of the best channels that you can URL when it comes to link building. So that are kind of a quick summary of what's going on, in my opinion.
So a lot of things, we've got AI, obviously, in terms of like AI overviews, in terms of the index, but obviously AI for the content, which we'll touch on as well. We've got a lot of the big media outlets either closing down or just not getting.
Yeah, journalists are also, there is an issue, I know in the UK at least, a huge issue with journalists because they are laying, a lot of, media outlets, they laid off a lot of journalists. And that is also increasing, right? The challenges that are, arrows also.
Yeah, another one gone.
Ciao.
Hi, bye. Yeah, and then as you say, just trying to get email response rates, the technical side of email deliverability is getting more difficult. But then obviously the sheer
the technical side is also there because you really need to set up a lot of things. Otherwise, you're going straight to a spam folder, right? So you really need to know a lot of things, right, in order to succeed.
So quite a lot of things have changed. Quite a lot. It's obviously getting a lot more difficult, So we touched on that. You touched on digital PR. More and more people, more and more agencies, sort of combining sort of a little bit of old school, but with very strong, a lot stronger sort of content pieces. Maybe using data, maybe touch thought leadership, product PR, sort of looking at reactive potentially. Obviously, that's a different thing again. But it sort of has been a shift in the landscape. Maybe we sat here 4 years ago for sure. We'd be outreach, blog placements and the various, whether that's link insertions and blogs. But that's getting very, very difficult to do and very sort of, when you can do it, the sites maybe aren't that great that you're trying to get placements on. So a lot of change, you're seeing a lot of the tactics that did work, not working. Are you seeing anything that maybe did work a few years ago that people are still doing, but it's maybe harming their brands or harming their sites? Is there anything that our listeners should avoid doing?
Yeah, well, I think I would say I would question the efficiency of paid link building, right? Well, that's first of all because you don't really have much to choose from, right? So not really too many options are there because one more time, Google, one more time, because Google has faced some problems with AI content, right? And, the sites that were able to generate tons of AI generated, content pieces and so on. And in order to fight, right, back the situation, not the brightest decision one more time, but who are we to judge? But what happened? Google decided to increase the importance of domain authority, and as a result, what we got Forbes with Parasite, SEO, and so on. That is, a side back effect that we got. But then, one more time, if you go through paid link building, then you don't really have tons of options. And also, I think it's not really sustainable because the chances of the sites that are choosing today, right? What I'm talking about is that, okay, you think that is a good opportunity for today, right? But with all the changes that we see right now in search engine results, the chances that this good opportunity will turn into something absolutely not worth the spend is very high, just because, it seems like Google doesn't really like that type of, websites because of lack of the brand element, the lack of, trustworthiness to the quality of the content and so on, right? So we are just, I think paid link building, that is, I would say questionable, might work, but one more time, I think on a general note, not the best case scenario. And just email outreach, if you really do it, on a scale and you're trying to leverage this channel, I think also, circling back to my previous thing about the degrees in efficiency, right? That we see that the efficiency of this channel is decreasing. I think it's just not really bad, but it's more like about the time that you invest and the result that you get out of this. So, and I think, it's better to really to take a step back and to think over, to kind of think about your content, for instance, right?
Yeah.
So that will be the winning angle in my understanding. So trying to, instead of actually building links, trying to earn them.
Yeah.
So, and that is exactly what I remember, right? I think that was distilled. The distilled one.
Yeah.
Such Love in London.
Yeah.
Almost, 12 years ago or something like that. I remember someone was talking there about earning links. No rocket science at all, but I think we really need to step back and, most probably think more toward that direction, because it feels like that will lead to something meaningful, right?
Yeah.
Just because if you also think one more thought about kind of the changes that we see and what we need to take into consideration, right? About AI summarized results and overall, I would say like how Google evaluates, right, the sites, looking at the backlink profiles and so on. It's very important to get links in the very, not in a misleading context, right? So your links should be making sense and describing your business in a very concrete and accurate way.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if Google doesn't really understand whether you are an orange or an apple, even though you are still a fruit, but that is the problem, right? That is the problem that's happening when you do link building, right? You think, okay, that is okay. I will put it over there and, it seems to be okay. It's going to work. The overall context is kind of okay. But then it kind of, well, in reality, it might be a very wrong idea, right? It might lead to very misleading links. That is the problem,
So we're
right?
more there about sort of quality branding, maybe the people for the organization, or helping bringing in EAAT, more signals. And then you're getting that individual or brand placed on more authority sites. Then those authority sites are the sites that are getting used for the LLMs to deliver the overlays. So it all sort of works together. Whereas if you're sort of still getting links from, how can we put it, poor sites that aren't really, I've got very few.
Maybe it might be great science, but in a misleading content, just because you don't really have any other options, right? So, at the end of the day, they're not going to help you.
So what sort of things can our listeners do to make sure that it's almost like trying to get your brand ready or your site ready, so it is link worthy, it is PR worthy, it is linkable? What sort of things are Google and sort of journalists looking for to make them want to work with you, or make Google want to sort of recognize your site? So anything you can add to that?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, it's never a bad idea to create linkable assets, right? So, any possible variation of stock pages that really get links organically. We've been extremely successful with that, right? So for sure, sometimes you need to build some links back to these pages, but while they're ranking very well, then they just work on their own. There's one thing. The other thing, actually, I think a lot of companies, they neglect the importance of being on social media platforms. And I think it's also nowadays, and based on the leak data, it's a ranking signal. And finally, building relationships with other brands in their niche, right? Just because getting links from similar businesses, and basically a link is kind of a recommendation, right? So if a similar business, a complementary business to your business, is giving you a link back to, either your homepage or a specific page, it doesn't matter, right? Then that is actually what we want, right, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Makes sense. So we've covered quite a lot there. I think let's go back a couple of steps and let's talk.
Now, you might be looking for an SEO boost, a down-to-earth digital PR campaign to share your story, or maybe just some straightforward technical help to amp up your performance. Now that's where Ecom Now comes in. A partner that's all about making things easier for your online store. Our services cover everything from creating professional content for your e-commerce categories to refining your product descriptions. Now, whether you're just starting out or have been in it for a while, we're here to deliver real impactful results that add to your bottom line without unnecessary commitments. You can order one-off or multiple projects with a quick turnaround. Simply choose what you need.
Let's talk AI. So obviously, content-wise, obviously a lot of people using AI to create content. And then, what are some of the pitfalls for using AI language models that our listeners need to avoid? Some people can be quite lazy when it comes to using AI, can't they? And they just give a very simple prompt to create something. What would you say to the guys about using AI to create the content? And then also, probably, how can they leverage AI to increase, like, link building requests or link building, just to get more from the link building using AI?
Okay, so starting from your first question about AI and content. Oh my gosh, it's really a very hard question, right? First of all, you have to remember that all the models, right, they were trained based on the content that can be found in search engine results. And if you are an user searching for something, let's say, like, I don't really know how to travel to one place to another, or how to, I don't really know, do something, right? You will, first of all, what you will get in search engine result, that will be some SEO generated content pieces.
Yeah.
So what you get out of this is more or less in the same direction, right? So because it can't really create anything new, just based on what it was trained, right?
Yeah.
The script is just living on that. And that is the main problem, right? So the same language and more or less rewriting the same ideas. So nothing new there, always, right? And in order to get something new, right, you need to get the first-hand experience. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons why we have quite a big rise of digital PR, just because people are looking for real experts, not AI-generated experts. Some people are kind of, writing, let's write a front. Let's imagine you're an engineer working for, for that niche. What will be the best way of answering this question? It's like, and you get this flop. Yeah. Which is okay. I think Chris told me that when that was a breaking moment when AI actually entered the SEO niche, and people, early users of AI, and they were among the early users of AI, and they were extremely successful with teaching this stuff to journalists, because they didn't really see the difference, right? Because they haven't been kind of, seeing, the same language, the same, you know what I mean? Because you kind of get the feeling that it's AI generated because of the wording, even though you can, write the most beautiful prompt that will tell, if you use ChatGPT for it, like, don't use these words, blah, blah, blah. Because I have a good friend, and he's running an editorial business. And when, everything has started with AI-generated content, he was really promoting the idea of, like, send me your AI-generated content, means the real editors related this and blah, blah, blah. After 2 years, he recently wrote a tweet, is like, never send me this, shit, because it's not possible to edit.
It can't tell a difference now.
Yeah, it's, in 2 years. And well, one more time, it's really not possible because you really need to rewrite this to get to the point and to really cut all the fluff, all this long, sentences and, this awkward wording. And you know what I mean, right? So for me, right, it's like you can use what can be done, right? You can use one more time ChatGPT or any other tool that they're using, right? In order to get, the ideas, in order to create maybe, a draft, an outline or something like that. But for, if you want to create, a content piece from A to Z, even like, if you send it to real editors, it's not going to work, obviously, because one of the effort that you need to put to, to edit it is going to, end up with, yeah.
So AI has probably created, I think, there's an opportunity for real businesses, like, a real e-com store that is a real expert in barbecues, whatever it is, because they actually are, whereas of a lot of people that are pretending to be something they're not are using AI and going, oh, that's pretty good, but in reality it's maybe not that great. Whereas as an e-com store that's, fairly established, that are experts in their products, and if they take the time to write that expert content, to work on their profile on all the different social media platforms, to go to events, to be interviewed, to be on podcasts, to create proper content that's real human, like we're doing right now, make the effort to be on 20 podcasts to do with the perfect barbecue meal or whatever it may be. That's really hard to game. It's really hard to copy that with AI, isn't it? Because you can't be, you can't probably be on the BBC if you're an AI driven. You can't be interview. You probably
you can. Because I saw, AI generated videos, right?
Like a duplicate, yeah. You can duplicate yourself, can't you? I think one day I'm going to have to do a podcast with you where it's not even me. It's my AI version of me. It's just you're talking to not me, and then I'll come in and go, "Hey, it's me." There's like two of me.
Oh gosh.
So that's an offered screen, isn't it? Yeah, two of me. That is terrifying. Yeah.
No, I didn't mean. It's more about technology, but okay.
Okay. Yeah. Two of me, terrifying. Thank you very much. So yeah, AI obviously is it's causing some interesting conundrums. Really, obviously shifted quite a lot of. But in terms of like maybe from a technology point of view, using more, I guess that's more automation, like in your outreach, looking for sites to outreach to. I guess AI can be used there to find maybe sites and journalists that you might not find on a lot of the traditional platforms, maybe. Yeah. So
that is true.
So, okay. So we covered a lot of ground thinking where to go. So I think, ultimately having really good relationships with sort of journalist influencers in your space, what would you say to our listeners that they need to really, really sort of build these relationships, but also I say build a relationship, but ultimately creating really good content for these journalists that are probably getting 100 emails a day.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to sort of building those relationships, but also standing out, to those journalists, to those whatever they may be, those sort of brand ambassadors, those brand people? What advice would you give to our listeners about getting in front of journalists?
Yeah, well, I think the easiest way actually to work with journalists, especially if you don't really have tons of experience, instead of taking a more traditional approach when you create a story trying to pitch it and so on, and you don't really know people around and so on, that is really hard even for a link building agency, right?
Yeah.
Just because, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, right? And no one can guarantee that, this particular story will lead to the right coverage. So it's way easier, right? To use the sites like featured and quoted, I think, right? And sources of sources, because Haro is no longer there, right? I mean, it will be shut down in less than 1 month.
Yeah.
So, and similar ones where you just and that's what we use also at Digital Olympus, where you see, right, all the requests, right? And some people, they're like, I've heard they're still insisting on monitoring, for instance, right, Twitter. And then what else can be done with the help of, whenever you see all the requests, and, in some cases, you also see the names of journalists. You can find this person on LinkedIn, and sometimes they also do something on LinkedIn, so you can follow them.
Yeah.
So that will be, I think, a good starting point, because, this, one more time, taking a more traditional approach with stories is really like, you really need to create like 10 stories and then 2 of them. So it's, 80% of your story, they are not going to succeed at all. So you really need to create a lot, and then you will get this 20 result out of your efforts, right?
Yeah. There's a real shift, isn't it? I think, as you say, a lot of link building agencies, vendors, suppliers that we know or know, over the years, they're trying to shift, but then it's difficult because it's a whole different skill, isn't it? It's a very skillful process, or a lot more difficult process. So then that puts off a lot of people from trying to do digital PR or professional coverage. Whereas back in the day, we're talking many years ago, obviously getting press releases submitted and getting, outreach, and, it's quite easy. Obviously there's various ways to do that, and various, whether you've got your own team or there's, literally I've got a list of 100 vendors here somewhere of different suppliers of over 1 million outreach placements. And, whereas obviously now, trying to build proper digital PR, it's what are you seeing in terms of like costs for agencies and costs for brands? That must have pushed the cost up, I assume, to quite a lot of, e-com stores looking to engage a link building digital PR agency. There might be a price point a few years ago of, maybe, I don't know, hypothetically $1,000 a month or whatever it may be. But now what can you really do for $1,000 a month? It's not a lot of money, is it? So they sort of push the pricing up considerably, but obviously what you are getting in theory is a lot better coverage. It's getting rid of the crap that's out there. But it's definitely changed the market, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's true. But I think what we do, right, we do a combination of, let's say, like taking a more traditional approach when we just, like one more time, we try to avoid just building links to, category pages or something like that, because that's how things have been, for ages at the e-commerce niche. So people, at the e-commerce niche, the owners of businesses, they didn't really want to invest in creating content, linkable assets, whatever it is. Right? What we try to do, instead of just saying, okay, here is a category page, a particular product you want to just kind of get links to, we'd rather create some linkable assets, right? So we can improve on the time your organic link flow, right? So, if you really don't want to continue working without that, it's not a problem, right, for you? Because if we take a more traditional approach, when you just kind of build a certain number of links per month and so on, then, you cancel the contract, you cancel the link flow, and then you lose everything. That is the next thing that will happen with you. Let's be honest, because, Google is looking at, your link velocity. If you don't really get enough link, then you're no longer getting this ranking single, you're no longer eligible, being, kind of outranking other websites that are doing a better job.
Yeah.
So that is one thing. And the other thing for sure, right, working with journalists, one more time answering their queries, that is quite a process as well. And for sure you can't, well, I think there is one more thing besides costs that are kind of associated with the end result and with the change that happened with link building services, and that is the time frame during which you can deliver, some results. Because before that, it was like, the client kind of like signed the contract and gets everything quite fast, right? But I think, but to be completely honest, anything that you can get fast, especially when it comes to SEO, is not really worth your your effort.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
But now whenever you want to cut the corners, you want to find a shortcut, it's no longer there, I would say, right? Or you get something that is not going to change a thing in your life, that is not going to improve your SEO performance and move, and help you rank better.
Yeah.
So you have to, you either have to stop relying on the SEO channel, right, on the organic traffic channel, which is also one of the options, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you have,
Yeah.
well, who knows, right? Or you have to admit, right, that it takes time, right? And you need to allow, your vendor, anyone, your consultant, to really take some time to deliver the results instead of just really kind of, you throw money, you get the result.
Yeah, that's the big change, isn't it? You throw a monthly fee, you get so many links a month. But in reality, if we talk about digital PR, we've got to understand the brand. We've got to have various meetings with the subject matter experts to really make that.
And also,
it's like a 2-month process before you maybe even get going. It varies. Then you've got to create something that's linkable, is linkable, is worthy. And then you might send 100 requests to get nothing back. You might send another 100 and start to get 1 or 2, and then you send another 100, and 2 months has gone by. The client's like, "Where's my links?" You're like, "Whoa! It takes time." Yeah,
obviously, that is very true.
Yeah.
And some clients, they don't really have a decent persona, and that is also a problem, right? Because journalists now they're looking at a persona because they want to try to avoid AI generated replies. So the persona plays a big role.
It's almost like an element of like old school traditional PR is coming back, because when I think about I think about going to awards, so you win an award, and that's an expensive thing to do. You got to apply to be, to be in the category. You might have to then book a, if we're going old school, you're booking a table at an event in a hotel, and then you go, and then you win, the best barbecue in the world award.
Exactly, but it works, right? It works.
Now you've got the awards. You're like the best barbecue of the world, and now the barbecue publications want to reach out to you. But it started by filling in an application to be the best barbecue in the world, whether that's the best SEO agency, the best, awards. But that's like an old school strategy, isn't it? Or, writing an article that's going to get featured in a newspaper, an online publication that's a real thought leadership piece, a lot of research, with a lot of, it's got a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's linking off to, a lot of real reference points that are real, well thought out, and you've got some quotes from other experts in there, and it's taken days to write. It's like writing a thesis that's made you the expert, but then you've got the event, you've won the award, you've got your thesis out there, you've been on 20 podcasts, 50 podcasts, 100 podcasts. Wow, that footprint you're making is then making it obviously a lot easier for people to want to link to you, to want to talk about you.
They know about you, they kind of recognize you as a thought leader. So for them, it's like, even if your answer might be not the most insightful, your persona and your profile is actually, one more time, unique, right? Making you the best option.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I think about like some of these like brand agencies that brand people, not products. There's quite a few of them now. Working with individuals to help them with their LinkedIn, to help with all the things we just talked about. I think those businesses are going to do well. They're going to do very well. Yeah. Isn't it?
Yes, it's a very important element nowadays, and social media is also a ranking signal, right?
Yeah. So you talked about linkable assets. What are some examples for e-com stores? Our listeners are listening now and thinking, what else could we create? What are some sort of sort of pretty cool ideas and just different things that e-com stores can create, that are linkable assets that are going to help them get, going to help them get reached out to from journalists and publications?
Yeah, well, first of all, we don't really pitch this, type of content to journalists just because they are normally just kind of, you really need to build some basic number of links back to it. Maybe, you can get, the links from people that or something like that, or just even from media outlets. So the pages will be among the top three results, and then they're just getting links by their own. But the main thing is that we normally, what we do, right? We look at what is trending in the particular niche, and we're trying to find the right types of start pages, because start pages, they are really, really working very well. So, well, the main problem, the biggest challenge, I think, is to find the right angle, right? To find what kind of pages are really getting this organic link flow, right? And you really need to understand also, you need to see the difference between an earned link and built link, right? And that is the trickiest part there, because sometimes you might say, oh, this page is getting tons of links, but then you look through the backlink profile and you see that the links are not really earned ones. They are built ones. Yeah. So, nowadays it's, that is the most challenging, right, part. But once you kind of, you see, right, and also for sure you need to take a look and be realistic about the competition, right, in search engine results. If you see like Forbes there, then you see, I don't really know, Statista, then most probably there is no enough space, for you if you're not really the same right type of business in terms of the brand authority, I would say. Yeah. So then, what we do, we also try to create some tools, right? And that was I recall that was also something that, 10 years ago, I firstly heard at one of the SEO and that I was attending. Also, someone was highly recommending creating, page experience. Okay. So, okie dokie, right? We have
here we go. Big circle.
Here we go. Fifth circle. Okay. Yeah. I mean, what we're trying to do with these tools also to make it a little bit, I would say, to make it easier, if we decide, right, to go with any tool. And we try for sure to make it very simple, not really, involving tons of, developer skills or something like that. So thinking about that, okay, it should be something simple, but also to make it look better and also to allow us to generate some links, I would say almost organically. We normally outreach influencers, right, or brands from the same niche and featuring, their kind of insights on the same page. And then we can actually try to one more time negotiate with them, getting a link back if they're featured there. So it's a little bit of a combination, I would say. An email outreach, influencer marketing, and, one more time doing a really good research, right, around, the particular niche to understand what works there. And, sometimes how-tos work, by the way, sometimes, because how-tos, they're also a little bit tricky. But, if we see that the particular how-to has been getting a steady flow of links, and we feel that these links are quite organic one, then sure we will do that. And normally what we do, right, as a starting point, whenever we kind of, we know that these are kind of market leaders in the particular niche, we go to Ahrefs and go to the report that is called Best by Links, which is basically showing, right, the pages, the pages that are getting the biggest flow of links. Yeah. Right. And you can choose the particular time frame there. Yeah. Well, not always it works the best, but sometimes it helps, right? And also what can be done, because the companies, obviously, the ones that are getting links from, media outlets, they're also doing different types of link building normally. and you can just look at the outgoing links of any media outlet, right? And that's where you can find the brands that are trying to build their, backlink profiles. They're doing something,
Yeah. That is well.
with link building, and you can also examine their profiles because normally people are using various types of link building.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that a lot. Yeah. I think I would say to our listeners to pause the episode, step back the last 5 or 10 minutes. But I think, ultimately, the sort of success leaves clues, doesn't it? If a competitor is great gaining traction, if you can go and see the sort of pages, types of content that they've been building that's been getting the traction, can you build something better? Where are they getting the links from? That sort of that velocity piece. Geez, where do they get this 100 from? They're paying for them. Okay, we'll leave that maybe. They built a tool. Which again, I remember, build a badge back in the day where you'd put the badge on the site and the badge would link back and you're building the links. Yeah. Whereas now, going back to the barbecue example, can we build a tool that creates the perfect steak on a barbecue or something? I don't know. That's just a crazy idea, but I'm sure we can, with some sort of influencer input. And then the influencers talking about that.
An award if you are one time, if you have the authority, right, to do that. Because one of our clients, they basically in the very competitive use because they're a car renting business, right? And they created an award for basically travel bloggers, and then they gave them the badges.
Yeah.
And they link back to, from their main page to their main page.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we've gone back in time, but yeah, it's true.
Yes, but it works, right?
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit harder maybe than just blog outreach, which is obviously that is a little bit of the point, trying to make it harder to game.
Yeah, now you need to involve marketing.
Yeah. So let's just last couple of questions then, Alex, and then we'll let you go. But I think crystal ball time, if we're sat here in 12 months' time, what do you see continuing to happen maybe on link building? What are some of the changes our listeners need to be aware of in the future?
Well, I think for sure, right, we really need to think of how to integrate, link building into marketing scope, right? Rather than keeping it as an SEO, to be completely honest, because I think in that way it's going to work way, way better. Because we have to remember that links are coming from the fact that people are aware of your brand, which means one more time that is circling back to my statement about the importance of running social media channels, because that will give you, right, the opportunity of putting your brand in front of a bigger audience, right?
Yeah.
The same about influencer marketing, right? You don't really need to be transactional with these people. And actually, it's one more time, that is something you really want to get, the best possible results out of your relationship. And then, you really need to think of, okay, what kind of marketing activities I can deliver with them. So for instance, I can feature them in my content, and that will actually help me promote my content, not necessarily getting links, right? But even if I can, right, one more time, use them to better promote my content, right? So they will actually reshare this content on Instagram, on TikTok, where they are present. That will be a big win for your brand, right? Because, people that are following them, they will see your brand. Then you can think, okay, if you have a podcast, if you have a webinar, if you have something else, an award, an event, whatever, right? You can also, one more time, have the second touching point with them, and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
So that should be really something strategic and well-derived, rather than saying, hey, we want to be featured on your blog. How much does it cost?
Yeah.
I mean, for sure, you can do this as well, right? But I think, that is not exactly, what you want to, because that will be, an obvious, a sponsored post or whatever it is. And, at the end of the day, you want people to actually casually mention you, right?
Yeah.
In their conversations and genuinely care about your brand.
Yeah.
And that is where, brand building is so important, that we really need to think of how to build your brand rather than build your SEO channel, right? Because
so are you going to change your
brand is, it's one of the biggest ranking factors. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say then, so most link building firms are now going to be called brand building firms now, are they? They're going to be. What do you do for a living? I'm a brand builder. I'm not a link builder. I'm a brand builder. Yeah.
Yes. In some extent, that is where the market goes. The other thing that you can't really, if you call yourself a brand builder, then you come with these link farms or, these mediocre websites. People are looking at that. It's like, does it really help me be a better brand? It's like, no, sorry.
More sort of more knowledge panel sort of work for individuals. That's quite there's quite a few people that specialize in that, isn't there? They'll sort of take a brand or an individual and work on their.
Yes, exactly. That is also quite important. That's where the right links. One more time, you really need to have the right links to claim this panel.
Well, Alex, it's been a blast once again. I like to finish every episode with a book recommendation. Do you have a book to recommend to our listeners?
Yes, I do have. It's a quite new book. It's about actually, I think it's kind of related to link building. It's called Influence, New and Expanded, The Psychology of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini.
Yeah.
I think, basically what we do, we are trying to persuade and also to influence on other people decision-making process whenever they create content, right? Whenever they think about different brands, and we want to be the ultimate number one.
Yeah. No, that is a very good book. Very good book. Yes. So for those that want to find out more about you, Alex, more about Digital Olympus, what's the best way to do that?
Well, I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so you can always connect with me on LinkedIn by searching by my name, right, Alexandra Tachalova. And thank you very much, Richard, for having me. It was a very, very insightful and I think it was right on time to describe the current state of link building.
Yeah, lots of change. Right, I'll see you in 4 years.
Okay.
Now, hopefully we'll speak before then. Your conference, obviously, you say September?
Yeah, it's September next year, 11th of September.
Yeah. So I may see you there with a few of our listeners as well.
Yes, hope so.
Lovely. Yeah, nice to see you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you are listening to this podcast. So you're always the first to know when a new episode is released. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you on the next one.